City.
Thank you for everyone, and I want to introduce you to your new council chambers. So I want to say thank you to council and for staff. Oh, I need to be in the mic, huh? I'll use this. I'll use this. Does this work? Okay. So a big thank you to council and staff. I uprooted all of you and shook up your environment, and nobody skipped a beat. So thank you for all of that support. I appreciate it. Staff especially, Ken is not here tonight, but he was instrumental in everything that I needed throughout the whole process. He's the reason why rooms 2 and 3 look amazing. He was just there to help the entire time. With our contractors, we had Enco Systems work on the audio and video. We had GB Construction work on all of the construction in here. And Kiko Paint did all of the painting, and we had M&M Carpets do all of the carpets in here. So everyone, it was really a dream team to work with in here. Another thank you to IT. They've been nonstop today trying to get everything up and going so that we have a smooth meeting tonight. And Heather's not here. IT is going to be taking over meetings now, so we're not going to see her bright and shiny face at the back of the room anymore. But she has been the behind-the-scenes backbone of making sure that all of the audio and the video has been going smoothly so far with the broken system that we had. So all of her accountability did not go unnoticed. And then a thank you to Todd for letting me take on this project, believing that we could do it. I don't think that other cities let their deputy city clerks do construction projects. So thank you for believing in this project as a whole. So thank you very much. So I will let the mayor come up and cut the ribbon. If I can invite council on this side here, and we'll do a good photo op.
Okay.
Mayor, you'll do the honors.
Yes. Go inside or over here? On this side? Whoa.
Yep, that should be.
You're gonna let him use a sharp instrument?
This for real, man. This is not a joke. Here we go. Invested in me that I'm doing a cutting the ribbons, and I would like to thank all of you guys. I mean, before I cut this, one is of course Miss Nicole in here did pretty good, excellent job, and also Todd. And she mentioned Ken. I mean, I saw Ken on Costco, two weeks ago, and I asked him, how's everything going, and he's so super excited about doing this job. And no delay on this. I would like to cut the ribbon, and again, bless us and bless Beaumont on this day. Thank you. Can you, can I ribbon?
Say hello to my little friend.
Traffic. Maybe a little traffic.
For the council.
Good job, Mayor. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Take away the start from.
Can we have a group here?
Picture, yes. Group rewind.
Mike, don't go anywhere, man.
We lost Lloyd. No, he's already in the back.
Lloyd,
Pull him out.
What do you got, another picture coming up?
oh, would you please? Anyone, would you please? Good, thank you.
Okay, tell me where you want to be, and I'll.
Over here.
Yeah,
Can we
that's
do it here? Hey, Lloyd.
Oh yeah. Hey.
See, I made it for photo ops.
Okay, shut the gate.
Trapdoor. One, two, three. All right, there you go. I did a couple.
Okay, so
you. Good job. It looks great. That's amazing.
It's really good.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay.
Looks like Solera's.
Did you take one of yours?
I've taken a ton. No, I didn't have the group. No. Did Ashley do it?
Did Ashley do it? All right.
She's got one cutting through it.
All right. All right. I can get you.
But I kind of learned from others how.
started cheering until.
So the buttons stop working when we plug them in, so it's a work in progress, but I will use yours right now. So,
Cost you $5 a view.
just check it. I'm good to go.
My mic. Can you hear me there? Okay, we're on. This is the January 21st, 2020, and City Council meeting. I will call this meeting to order at 6:05. Roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll? Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Santos?
Here. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance, Steve?
Ready, begin.
Approval and adjustment to agenda. Any conflict of interest disclosure? Okay. Any announcement, recognition, proclamations, and on the correspondence? If not, we move on. Public comment period. Items not on the agenda. Any one person may address the City Council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at back table and give to the city clerk. This is a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing, taking actions brought by your comments. Is there any public?
Yes. First speaker is Edward Mazzy.
Hi, I'm Edward Mazzy. I live south of the tracks here over in the area of Michigan and, first in Pennsylvania. So first I want to say thanks everyone for their effort taking the effort to get these municipal codes for the street vendors. However, I'm noticing a little bit of problems with the verbiage. We're getting a little bit, there's a little bit of unclarity, I guess, to where it turns out, where it boils down to a matter of perception for whichever officer's dealing with it. It's not black and white yet in one area, and that is that, let's see. For some reason, we use the term peddler in our municipal code, where it's not in the state SB 946. They don't even use it, so I don't know why we're using it, but it's causing a problem because there's a difference between a peddler and a sidewalk. A sidewalk vendor. Is that what the term? I want to make sure I'm using the right word. Stationary sidewalk vendor, yeah. Okay, so the difference is now, a peddler moves, by definition anyways, quick definition, is on the move, from place to place. Whereas, street vendor, or whatever, what I say, sidewalk? Yeah, that's stationary. So the problem at that intersection is that there's no sidewalk. This is where it turns turns into a matter of perception. From my perspective, whoever sets up there is a sidewalk vendor out of place because there's no sidewalk. In my past experience with one of the officers, their perception, and with the watch manager, or I'm sorry, I don't know what the right term is, the boss for the day, they come to the conclusion that he's a peddler because there's no sidewalk. So we need to just make some more clarity on that, because it's really frustrating. It basically takes away all the effort that we put into, you know what I mean? So, thank you.
Next speaker is Terry Worthy.
Just for a clarity thing, I had trouble going through the agenda to find one of the action items for today on the fire station. But I do have a non-agenda item, but the fire station I put under a different one, number 4, because it's the only place I could find it, because it was like 300 pages I went through. So on the non-item, back in 2014-15, the LAFCO, City of Beaumont Municipal Services, had a review that was called out a periodic update that was due by July of 2018. It had 3 critical items that we as a city were supposed to provide an update on. 3 critical items. I could not find anywhere that in July 1st of 2018 that we provided that. And another one is due this July. And I would think that if they provided a huge review of our city, and they asked for only 3 items to be reviewed, which are critical to the city, that we should have responded. If we did, I apologize. I could not find it anywhere. I contacted LAFCO. I did not get a response back that they had it, and it wasn't where it was supposed to be on their online. So my question comes back, did we submit it or didn't we? And if we didn't, when are we going to? So that's all I had for the pre-meeting agenda. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. The next speaker is Roger Bell. Roger Berg.
Okay, sorry.
Hello, Roger.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you. Mayor and City Council members, I came back to you in December about my public information request regarding some emails and several things, and I never got the emails about Mr. White. And he made a comment at that time, there wasn't any emails on the search for the city attorney, proposals or anything else, all done by the phone. Thanks to this deputy city clerk, she found them, and I was able to find them. And Mr. White, you lied to me, you lied to the cities of Beaumont. I got the emails right here. ourfocusourkids@gmail.com, from Wade at sbemp.com, with CC to John Pinckney, your city attorney. This is Wade was your deputy city attorney when you first got him on part-time. Why you gotta lie to me? Why do you gotta hide this stuff? I don't understand it. You've got, I went through the billings from September, October, November, $130,000, $133,000. No breakdown as to what this stuff was for, other than the name there. I don't know if it's being properly accounted to. Some of it was going to a Peters case, which is over there with the trailer park. Another one's going to some stuff still from Tump. Is that being charged off here? The public has a right to know. Nobody's wanting to know what your strategy was or anything else, but you're hiding everything. You hid this on how you did this here. You lied to me, you lied to the public. Where's the transparency? You know, let's have some transparency here so that people will know. It's the only thing fair. I mean, I looked at one thing earlier from a couple months ago. You're selling some property that the city acquired years ago from a tax sale. Good job done on it. got all the information there and everything. I have no questions. I think it's a good use of the money. If people got the information they needed, they wouldn't be so upset. Now, please, the rest of you, only one was here was Mike when it went down, but let's have some transparency. Let's get these things done. One other comment, just to speak on what a person spoke earlier about these street vendors. That guy down there every week on First and Pennsylvania, that is a flood control structure. Puts all his wares out there and everything else on top of it. That's not a sidewalk, that's a flood control structure. What in the world we're allowing him to put that stuff out there and disrupt the legitimate business in the community that pay tax and stuff? I don't get it. But something needs to change. Please, folks, do your job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No other speakers.
No other speakers on that? Okay. Okay. So we go to the consent calendar. Items on this consent calendar are taken as one action unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of action items. Is there any need to be pulled or discussion on that? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar items 1 through 4.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll. Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Okay, public hearing? Nobody on the public hearing?
Excuse me,
Yes.
I put something in for item number 4. I see you've got it under the consent calendar. This is one about that I referenced when I was up there earlier.
I'm sorry, that's all right. If you
Let
want
me,
to-
go ahead, Mom. You want to,
Go ahead, oh, go ahead.
While she's coming up, Mayor, I don't think our mics are turning on.
I know,
You just have to get a little closer to them.
yeah,
Not on it?
The lights are working.
yeah. Go ahead, Mom.
Okay, when I was here 2 weeks ago, it was going to be on the agenda. It was requested at the end that the business about the West Side Fire Station get put on the agenda. I couldn't find it anywhere else except under this item number. So if I should be coming back later tonight to address it, please let me know now. But should I continue about the fire station under this item?
You can.
Okay. I did a lot of research in the last 2 weeks to find out, because it sounded like we were moving along quickly with the fire station, when in reality, that's not the case at all. I only went back to 2014 and pulling up some of the items, and it seems as if this critical thing for our city keeps getting put out. Sometimes it's an agenda item, then I look to see what the minutes are, and now when the minutes get published for the previous agenda item, it was number 6 and they stopped at number 5. Nobody could explain why. But I understood that it was in the design phase, yet when I look at your state of the city for 2019, it said that the design was finalized in September of 2019. Construction bids should be at the end of 2019 or 2020. That's a big gap of a whole year. I think when we put something out and everything's finalized, why don't we have plans, and why hasn't that gone out to bid? That's what's drawing this thing out for year after year after year, is all we have is these pretty pictures, and I can't find out where anything is moving. So I went and looked at the money in this item number 4, and what I find is that money went into that fund for the fire. We started out with about 2.4 million in July 1st of 2018. We collected another 1.6 million. We didn't spend anything. So for a whole year, I don't think if you spent any money on something, that something didn't move forward. So nothing happened last year. I expect, because of what I've been seeing over and over again, that's probably what's going to be happening next year if I don't show up every 2 weeks and become a burr in your saddle, because it just keeps going on and on. I've got newspaper articles, Press Enterprise. They're all talking years ago about this should be here by now. So somebody's been putting this out. Let's see, May 3rd of 2017, you guys committed $10,000 to develop fire mitigation fees surveys or something like that for a possible 5 acres. I mean, how long are you guys gonna drag this out? 2 weeks ago when I was here, I had a feeling that by the time I came, it was gonna be a real agenda item that somebody could say, here's what the status of this is. And here I am, I don't know anything more than I knew, except that I'm a whole lot more upset than I was last week because what you guys said and what I see, that's a lot of paper. And it all's just dragging and dragging and dragging. If I see one more dog park go up before we have a fire station,
Mom, you have to close it.
I know I ran out of time, but come on, guys, put it on the agenda. Let's talk about it.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, let's move on.
Mayor, may I speak to this item?
Go ahead.
When we requested a future agenda item, we did not designate that it would be this agenda, so I want to find out from staff that it is planned for a future agenda item, correct?
It is.
Sorry. What does that mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, we are developing it. The question wasn't just about the fire station, it was about the effect that the fire station would have on insurance premiums and the insurance cancellation that some beginning community are experiencing. So we're reaching out to insurance providers to talk to them and to look at it. I think one of the preliminary things that we're finding is that the construction of the station, although needed, is not necessarily going to be directly impactful to people's insurance premiums and some of the challenges that are going on. So I think it's a holistic issue that we're pulling together research that will be able to present the full story that's out there. So I think, there was concern about certainly the station and the timing of it. One thing I will say, and we would say the city, looking at fiscal year was 2019-2020. It's a fiscal year, not a calendar year. Not saying either calendar year 19 or calendar year 20. So as I reported in our last meeting, we are actually in design for the station, and we'll be bringing that forward as soon as we have those designs complete and present them to the council.
And I think our instructions at the time was to bring it back regarding the concerns that were raised as well as the insurance component. So I do appreciate you not bringing it back to a point where we're not ready to discuss all the portions of it, because we would just leave more people in confused. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just don't understand. Is it an agenda item or is it?
Okay.
I don't understand.
So I just
Hold on.
want to also, I
Yes.
just wanted to also comment that the original design that we had for the fire station had to be modified due to suggestions from CAL FIRE. So there were some minor modifications that they suggested, so that put the plans where we had to go and change them a little bit as well. So that's why it might have said design and the design again. So.
I think to clarify to your question is that this is not the agenda item that we said we were going to bring back. This is a separate item that was already scheduled for this agenda. Is that correct? Yeah.
So when can I come and have it as the agenda item? When's the schedule?
Staff, can we let her know once you have it scheduled?
Yeah, it'll be posted on our agendas, and we do have the option to be able to receive the agendas. And we've got your contact information, correct, Nicole?
Yes.
So we can make sure that we'll provide you notice to let you know when that item will be ready for discussion and brought officially to city council.
Did you receive my email earlier today?
Yeah, and I understand that, but I guess I still am very confused about, I feel like you guys are playing word games with me. You said at some point it will become an agenda item, and then that could be 3 years from now? Is that what you're saying, that we should not have a fire station even started, like we don't know? Is that what I'm hearing? We do not know?
It will not be years from now.
Well,
We just want to make sure that we have all the information ready to present a complete picture of where we are with the fire station.
And when will we be ready for that?
So this is not an agenda
Not
item
on
tonight.
agenda, yes.
So you can briefly respond to comments made by the public, but we seem to be
Yeah, we have to
beyond that.
move
I
on
think
on
the
this.
question was
I
answered.
just want to know when to come back.
Yeah, that will be, put it on the future agenda on this. I mean, just like he mentioned, I mean, the city manager will be, you'll be notified on the, through the agenda on this.
And to clarify, the objective, and I don't want to give a hard date because I don't know when I'll be able to talk to all the people and talk to specifically insurance agents, but the objective is to try to have this within the next 30 to 60 days. So we can come back and get a full date and be able to address the full complement of the concerns that are out there.
Okay, let's move on this. On the action items, approval of all ordinances and resolution to be read by title only. Item number 5, council appointment to the Economic Development Committee. Staff report, please.
Council, Council, the Beaumont Economic Development Committee currently has one vacancy on it. The seat is the post-secondary education representative. The current holder of the seat has an interest in being reappointed. His name is Mr. Von Lawson. Attached are his recommendation letters and his, an email showing his interest. He's not here this evening. However, he would like council to consider his reappointment to the committee. And we have no other applications.
Okay. Is there any wants to speak on this item? No public comments? Okay. Any discussion? Need more discussion? If not, need a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Lawson for another engagement with the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Santos?
Yes. Item number 6, council appointment to the Finance and Audit Committee. Staff report. Mr.
Mayor and
Paul?
council, we have 2 vacancies on the Beaumont Finance and Audit Committee. The 2 seats did not elect to fill those positions again. We received 1 application. Well, we actually received 2 applications. One was, did not meet the criteria of living in the city nor owning a business in the city. Therefore, it was not applicable. We do have 1 application. It's from a Mr. Parks. He sends regrets for not being able to be here this evening, but he does want to be a part of the committee if you would consider his application.
Okay. Any no public comment? Any discussion from council? No? Okay. I will entertain a motion, please.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to consider the appointment of Mr. Parks to the Finance and Audit Committee.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez? Councilmember Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Santos?
Yes. Item number 7, CDBG required change to funding allocation for the year 2020 to 2021 program. Staff report.
Good
Ms. Taylor?
evening, Mayor and Council.
Okay.
As you recall, back in November, we had 2 applications for CDBG funding for nonprofit programming. They were awarded $10,000 each by council. We submitted the paperwork to CDBG, everything processed on time, and then as the program managers were reviewing, they realized that the city had awarded and it exceeded the award amount that we're allowed to for nonprofit programming based on our anticipated revenue. So consequently, they've asked us to come back and reassess or reallocate our awards to the applicants, either one or both. The maximum amount that we have to work with is $26,085. So the $10,000 each, or I'm sorry, the $20,000 each is what we awarded, would be over. So $26,085 to work with in a minimum award amount of $10,000. I'm available if you have any questions, if you'd like to hear any more about it. Happy to answer. And I believe we have applicants both in the audience, if you have questions for them.
Okay. Let me open for public comments or anything. No?
No public comment.
Okay. Any discussion on this in the council?
We really want 20,000 each, just isn't gonna work, huh? When we initially, when this came to us before, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I respond? Is that okay, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see you as well anymore, and I've adjusted to that. I made a suggestion to divide what we had, and then, Councilmember White asked the question, can we give more, and we thought we could do that, so I guess I could go back to, dividing the 26,000 and change that we can use, and I realize that that doesn't come up to what it is that they hope to have, but I really, they're both incredibly worthy programs. They both should get $40,000 each, but we can do that. And I sincerely do not want to restrict a startup program such as the Diamonds and Pearls mentoring program. I sort of view that as kind of a startup program that really needs to get strength underneath its legs. So not that the Boys and Girls Club is not very precious, they are. But I do feel that they have a lot of resources. They're more experienced and probably better staff. So I'm going to make a suggestion or a motion that we just divide the amount between the two programs.
Mr. Mayor, if my math is right,
Okay.
each group would get $13,042.50.
They'll be
26,085
Okay.
divided by 2.
they'll be divided equally.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Go ahead.
I think Councilwoman Carroll makes a good point. My question is, if the one is a startup, how much did they ask for? You didn't know?
They asked for 20,000 as well.
So my thought is if 20,000 is what they need to get started, maybe we consider putting more towards that because we have contributed to the Boys and Girls Club over the years. And it's just my thought. If what Ms. Carroll was pointing out is that important, maybe we should go in that direction and maybe give the 20,000 to the startup program and then bring it to Boys and Girls Club. I'm good either way. I just wanted to bring that up as a
Okay.
suggestion.
That's a good point.
I think if I understood correctly, though, there has to be a $10,000
Minimum.
minimum.
Yes, yes.
So that would mean that what was left over would not be enough to grant to the Boys and Girls Club.
That's correct.
So we could do
Thank you.
10,000
I
and
need to-
16,000.
Yes, you could,
Okay.
yeah. CDBG requires an award in minimum amount of $10,000 in order for CDBG to act as the program administrator. Otherwise, city staff would have to act as the program administrator, and I don't believe that we're adequately suited for that at this time.
Understood.
A good spirited suggestion, but I don't think it'll pull off that much.
So I'll make a motion that we provide 10,000 to the Boys and Girls Club and the remainder to the other applicants.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pretend Lara, Mayor
Yes.
Santos.
Yes.
That's all right. Yes. Remind me.
I'm going to move right on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on item number 8. Award of contract to West Coast Arborist, Inc. for tree trimming and tree maintenance services. Staff report, Ms. Gibb.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I throw Doug into his first staff report, I thought I better introduce him to all of you. Doug Story comes to us from the city of Upland. He is our new Assistant Director of Community Services. He's been with us since January 6th, and I can assure you he's very rarely in his office. He is going to give the staff presentation tonight. He did research this and write the staff report. However, the bidding had closed prior to Doug starting with us. So with that, I'll turn it over to Doug.
Thank you. Mayor, council members, very happy to be here tonight. Before you, I have a staff report with a recommendation. On October 23rd, we sent out a RFP for tree trimming and tree maintenance services. That was with the closing of December 12th. We ended up receiving 4 bids for that RFP. The scope of work that was included in that RFP included the tree trimming, tree maintenance, general arborist inspection, and reporting services. All this was in hope to enhance beautification in the city, also allow us to address some much needed tree maintenance that we wanted to do across the city. Those 4 bids came in. The way that we looked at those bids was a cost per tree, and it ranged in those 4 bids from $75 per tree all the way up to $200 per tree. The one that came in was West Coast Arborist, WCA, and so we brought them in for an interview. Like Elizabeth had mentioned, the RFP and the bids all came in prior to me getting here, but I did have the opportunity to sit in on the interview. And when I found out that it was WCA, I was really excited because in my previous city, we also contracted with WCA, and I was very pleased with their level of work and just the way that they deal with municipalities, since that's their specialty. So I was happy to interview them. We did bring 4 of their staff in to answer all of our questions. We spent about an hour and a half with them, and it was just an opportunity to reiterate that it was a great company, great opportunity, and a great decision to bring them before you. So we do that today with the recommendation to award a tree trimming and tree maintenance service contract to West Coast Arborist for a period not to exceed 3 years, and to authorize the mayor to execute that agreement on behalf of the city of Beaumont.
Very good. Any
Public comment.
public comments? Any discussion?
WCA is here if you guys do have any specific questions for them. They have one of the representatives with us today.
Okay. Discussion? Really quick. Go ahead.
So I'd mentioned a tree inventory that we don't have, that they said they would probably do. Is that a part of the contract, or is that something we're gonna do kind of informally?
It's going to be something that we'll do informally. It's an opportunity for them to, obviously they don't have an inventory of all of our trees yet, but as we send them to specific sites, they begin to inventory those specific trees that they work on. And so it is something that we can incorporate into that cost. And as we send them out to specific jobs, then we have the inventory on that tree and when it's been serviced, what kind of tree it is, the type of shape that it's in. And then also if there were specific areas that we needed to inventory so that we can make the best decision for the funds that we have, we can ask them to do an inventory ahead of time, and then they can begin to survey those specific areas.
And the last question I had, we had done we had an arborist come in and do some survey on some of our trees and so forth. Is that study and communication with the new consultants? Because I don't know if we have any trees left at that.
The previous arborist that we had, it was a not to exceed 15,000, and we did expend those funds, and it was for Palm Islands from 5th to just north of Cougar Way. That report was in. We did get those trees trimmed, and then the other portion of that contract was to do the 6th Street medians where the Italian cypress are, and we talked about removing all of those Italian cypress. We did not contract that out because at the time the prices were way too high, and so we will add 6th Street medians to this particular contract and get that done.
Okay, that was my main focus.
Yeah.
That'll be done.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we award a tree trimming and tree maintenance service contract to West Coast Arborists, Inc. for a period not to exceed 3 years and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city of Beaumont.
Second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Now we're on item number 9, Walmart Bus Shelter Improvement Project Update. Ms. Gabe? Oh.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. Several months ago, I came and discussed a project of installing some bus shelters in 3 different locations here in the city of Beaumont. They're grant funded. One was the library, the other at Wells Fargo, and then the third one was at Walmart. So this is to give you an update on the Walmart. Since then, I've been working on getting a conceptual plan together. And as part of the staff report, attachment A is the conceptual of what the Walmart bus stop is proposed to look like. And I wanted to share that with you. Is it on there? Okay. It's on the screen. It's new to me. Yeah, so one slide is Walmart before. We all know what Walmart looks like now, which it needs some love. And this is what Walmart is going to look like after. There's going to be 2 26-foot shelters that are put side by side. So it's one big long shelter. There's going to be raised planters. All the dirt areas are going to be taken out because there's a lot of foot traffic that goes from the parking lot to the Walmart. It will deteriorate anything that's in there. So we're going to put some raised planters, some more trees. There's going to be some lean bars so people can just lean if they want rather than sit inside the shelters. There's going to be space for marketing. So our PIO who has any information to share, upcoming events, things like that, we can post them on our shelters. And there's going to be like a triangle kiosk where our schedules could all go, and bike racks. So because I found that a few people are chaining up their bikes onto the trees currently. So we're going to put some bike racks there.
Any discussion?
Is that solar on top, or is that just for, really?
Yeah, there will be solar lighting there, correct. And I also have some other poles with lights that'll be over the kiosk that'll have our bus shelter, our bus schedule information in there.
And is that, the back of that stop, is that solid, or is that open?
The back of the shelter will be a corrugated mesh metal so that people, feel safe sitting inside of the bus shelter, that, nobody can walk up behind them. So it is like a metal, kind of like our current bus shelters are. And then right behind that is going to be a raised planter.
Okay. So it looks like there'll be a little bit more protection from the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very nice. And this gives us more seating capacity than what we currently have today, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you very much. Nice job.
Anybody else? Go ahead, John.
Well, I did have a question about the roof. Thank you very much
No,
for
everybody-
clarifying that.
everybody, this is a question.
I also, I've noticed when I go by the shelter as it exists now, that when people have small children, it's much harder to make sure they're safe when they're there because it's so much more open. Kids can go backwards and forwards and every place because you don't have, so I think that the back on that is probably really going to be helpful because so many of the people that use the transit take their kids to Walmart and do their shopping and have so I think that's a great addition. And this does follow the general guidelines of RTA all the way on what they're doing. It looks very similar.
Yeah,
to the ones that
absolutely.
they-
I do borrow that.
So I'm really pleased to see that too. So I think it's a great addition and it's a critical place for us, for the people that ride the bus to feel both safe and get away from the elements. So I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
To the left there's room in the future for another structure, or perhaps, I mean, in the future, possibly, since it's gonna be a big hit?
Yeah, perhaps we could put another 26-foot shelter in there.
I'm just, so it's not out of the question. That was my only
Oh, yeah, not out of
concern,
the
is it's
question,
possible.
never, right.
Okay, that's, thank you. Very nice.
On my side, this is, on the handicap, on this, or the disabled. On the back, that's it. There's an open for the disabled to get in on the shelter.
Actually, if you continue west on the sidewalk past the bus shelters, there's
Yeah.
a ramp and the yellow truncated domes that go before Farmer's Boy. So right after our shelter, but way before Farmer's Boy, there's an area right there that ADA is accessible.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. Good design. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Good job. Item number 10, authorize amendment to the authorized position list and salary table. Staff report, Carrie Mendoza.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. So you have before you a staff report to amend the authorized position list and salary table for a couple different reasons. As you know, minimum wage increased to $13 an hour effective January 1st, so we needed to revisit our recreation specialist and lifeguard classifications, as well as the lead recreation specialist because of compaction. Then our building department expressed a need to eliminate a position and enhance one position to a plans examiner, keeping the existing duties and allowing us to be able to in-house plan check some solar options. Mayor Pro Tem Lara and I had a couple discussions in regards to the title itself, so we will be adding the word building plans examiner in front of that, so then it'll be in a better location in the authorized position list, alphabetically. So that was first and foremost. And he also had some recommendations in regards to adding a little bit more experience to the position, which we're not opposed to. It'll just have to go back to the union for approval. But I'm still seeking approval for the actual title and pay rate, if you will, at this point in time. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have the building team here who's able to talk to you about their restructuring and their ideas behind this counter position, if you have any questions for them as well.
Very good. Any public comments?
No.
Okay. Open for discussion? Anyone?
So,
Okay.
You could start.
Carrie, I appreciate that very much, taking into consideration. The salary's consistent with other plans examiners within the area. Again, like I said, I just concerns with the amount of experience required, and if you'll work on that, and I'm good with the position title change as well. So thank you for taking that into consideration.
Absolutely.
I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the amendment to the authorized position list and salary table.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Item 11, authorize the memorandum of understanding between the City of Beaumont and Police Management Unit. Staff report, Carrie Mendoza.
I'm going to just stay in this seat for a little while longer.
I know, I see that.
So as you know, I've been meeting with this group of 4 individuals for since October in regards to their memorandum of understanding expiring and due to the holidays and skipping a meeting. We're a little behind, but we did come to some agreements in closed session as well as my meetings with the labor group, if you will. This group, as you all recall, is individuals within the memorandum of understanding. They are not represented by a legal or bona fide union, so therefore their MOU has to come back to open session for everyone to look at the terms and conditions. The major changes, 2.5% cost of living adjustment effective upon signing, a 2.5% cost of living adjustment next year, 2021, an increase in the cafeteria plan, and an increase in vacation and sick time cash outs. And all these proposed terms are in line with the FY 2020 budget as well. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Very good. Any, no public comment on that? Discussion, council? If not, would entertain a motion?
I move that the city council approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Beaumont and Police Management Unit and authorize the city manager to execute.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Item number 12, authorize the memorandum of understanding between the City of Beaumont and managers, professional and technical unit. Ms. Carey.
Identical circumstances as my last staff report. We've been meeting since October. We've also met in closed session. Same circumstances. They are individuals within this memorandum of understanding, so therefore the terms and agreements come before this board in open session. Same terms that I discussed before, the 2.5 this year, 2.5 next year, increase in the cafeteria plan, and increase in the cash outs. Be happy to answer any additional questions.
Any public comments on this? No. No? Okay, any discussion on the council?
Just a real quick comment.
Quick.
Carrie,
Yes.
thank you for your work on both of these
You're very welcome.
MOUs. I appreciate that very much. And with that, I'll make a motion, city council approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Beaumont and managers professional technical unit and authorize the city manager to execute.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Item number 13, city attorney invoices for the month of December 2019 last year.
Because this matter involves my law firm, I'm recusing myself.
Very good, thank you. Okay, staff report on this.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you
thank
got the microphone there.
All right, I think we may be working now. So total invoices for, through December, for a total of $59,767.04. About $10,000 of that was costs associated with our third-party claims litigation that really stems from the lawsuits that we're pursuing as a result of our TUMP and other related issues. So the balance of that is normal, regular, recurring
Yeah.
expenses.
Very good.
I will say, one of the things that we are looking at with regard to the city budget is just confirming that we are fully recapturing all of our legal expenses for development-related matters. A lot of our general legal work actually is conducted as we do reviews of development agreements and things like that. There's deposits that are paid by the developers when they submit their applications. Part of those are to cover their legal costs. So we're going back and making sure that we're recapturing those dollars through those. The balance of those funds are usually returned to the developer if there's anything left of their retainer. So we do a lot of it on deposit-based and bill out on actual costs. So anyway, that's one additional thing we'll look at, and then we'll be providing a report back to y'all in terms of how much of that additional cost we're taking care of. And our budgets are not structured to address that. So when you look at our mid-year budget adjustment, we'll be looking to make an adjustment that will factor all those elements in and make sure we're looking at the revenues coming over correctly. So with that, that concludes my report to you.
Okay. Discussion? Okay, there's a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $59,767.04.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Item number 14, January 2020 legislative update. Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the January legislative update. It's really comprised of Governor Newsom's extensive fiscal year 2021 state budget. I know that sometimes my reports get a little bit long, so what I did was I limited myself to 3 bullet points per page for the 325-page budget document. So we should be done tonight.
Oh, okay, I know.
So realistically, I distilled down the entire budget into a couple highlighted issues. The budget itself is 222 billion in expenditures, of which 153 billion of that comes from the general fund. The remainder comes from other sources. That represents a 2.2% increase from last year's budget. And this budget does include a $5.3 billion surplus for the end of the year. That's one of the mainstays within the budget document, is that the governor is expecting a slowdown in the economy, and they want to continue to maintain a nice rainy day fund going forward. Hopefully that gets us into a better position than where we were during the recession, when the state was looking for all available monies, including that at the local level. It does also highlight a significant amount of one-time spending items, which is also good if we're looking into an economic downturn, as the one-time items won't snowball into future years. At the end of the day, like I talked about, if everything goes as proposed, the fiscal year 2021 the state will end with an $18 billion surplus in a rainy day fund. So there's a lot of information within that document. The two main highlights are in two topic areas. One is education. Actually, I'm going to say three. I'm going to backtrack on that. So one's education, two is homelessness and housing, and then three is climate resiliency. So if you take the time to read through that, you're going to see an increase in funding into education, expanded school meals, STEM academies, additional funding for school facilities. As we somewhat expected, we see a large investment into housing and homelessness programs, one for housing stock, other homeless programs to try to prevent homelessness. And then lastly, we see a large expenditure and investment into climate resiliency, and some people may ask what that is. It's really a result of the major wildfires, mudslides, flooding that we have seen throughout the state of California. They tie it into climate change, but realistically it's the ramifications that have resulted for some of these emergency disasters, where we're trying to, one, have money for those, but also they're taking a proactive approach, like I think I explained a couple meetings ago, where they're trying to dedicate funds to those areas in order to hopefully prevent problems from occurring in the future, which then costs them 5 times what it does to remediate. And then the last thing I saw in there that was of importance for us is that there is a push, and I'm going to be working with Christina to get an idea of how this impacts us, on revamping the RHNA process, so the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. There's a push to revamp that program by 2023. So I'm not exactly sure how that'll pan out or if there'll be support, but it is something that we'll be reviewing, and that concludes my report. Thank you, and I can answer any questions.
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, though.
Did you read all 300 pages?
I did not.
Like the honesty.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez? No. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. About the CB 50 on.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have Christina Taylor next to come up and provide you an update with regard to the SB 50.
Okay.
Let's.
Yeah.
Good evening again. As you all are well aware, there's a slew of housing legislation that has been both approved and still ongoing in consideration for this session. One of the bills that has been brought to our attention by League of California Cities as well as by our public affairs representatives, Townsend, is Senate Bill 50. I want to give you just a little bit of information and then maybe discuss, or if you have any direction for staff on this, I'm happy to take it this evening. So Senate Bill 50, it's a 2-year bill. We're in our second year of that 2-year bill, and it has to be acted on by before January 31st in order for it to stay alive this legislative session. So that's important because this is a loaded bill that is going to put a lot of requirements on cities, or has a potential to put a lot of requirements on cities. There are 3 key elements of this bill. There's an equitable communities incentive, local flexibility plans, and sensitivity, a sensitive communities designation. And basically what these 3 things have to do with is increasing density of housing, reducing parking requirements for developments that are within a certain proximity to transit stops. We are talking about designating areas for these increased densities and increased height requirements, increased floor area ratios, like all the things that basically we now as a city have control over would essentially be dictated or preempted in some regard by the state. One of the other critical points of this, or key elements of this legislation, is that the bill would require cities to allow up to a 4-plex in a single-family residential neighborhood, or in a single-family residential designated zone. So that, of course, has a lot of cities paying attention to this as well. So anyway, like I said, this could have some significant impacts. There are some year markers as far as the requirements if this bill is passed, certain things that cities would have to do by certain periods of time. And there's a whole slew of information. I think you may have received some stuff from League of Cities, but I'm open to questions if you have any questions. At this point in time, the League is encouraging cities to take a position. I believe the League is essentially opposed unless amended on this bill. And so staff is happy to take direction if we need to provide comments to League or to any of our elected representatives in Sacramento. We can work with city manager's office to prepare something for signature and submission.
Okay. Mayor, I have a couple
Yes.
questions. So the 4-plex is not the additional dwelling, junior dwelling units. If you had a 4-plex, would you be able to also have an additional dwelling unit as well?
So that was not necessarily called out in the bill, but I would think that it's a 4-plex. Right now, the ADUs are residence and ADU. So I think this would almost essentially replace that, I think.
Okay.
Or the potential is there for that to occur, so you could still have 4 units as opposed to just the 2 that right now we have.
Okay. And is it on hold right now? Is it,
So it
when will
was-
it be considered again?
So it was scheduled to be in appropriations, and it was actually pulled from appropriations and sent directly to rules. And it should be heard in rules this week. If it's heard in rules this week and makes it out of rules, it will be on the Senate floor. It has to be on the Senate floor for consideration prior to January 31st. If it's not, the bill dies. It seems from what I've heard from our representatives in Sacramento that there is a push for this to go through, so it's fully anticipated that it will make it to the Senate floor.
So my understanding is that it was pulled from appropriations because they knew it would fail in appropriations, and that the rules will be able to pass it because it's got better controlled rules. If we were to vote to oppose, can we vote to oppose a position tonight? We can't, I don't believe, can we? I mean, how do we meet the January 31st deadline to be heard?
I know it is agendized, so I think you can have some discussion. I defer to city attorney ultimately on that, but we can take direction, and we can have a letter prepared for Mr. Parton to work with the mayor and council, and it can be emailed up if that's council's direction. I mean, tomorrow, we can get it submitted to League and to the senator's office. We've been provided all of the contacts for the supporters of the bill.
Well, that would be my position, would be to take a vote to oppose, regardless of whether it's amended or not.
Okay.
I can make that a motion unless people want to
Or,
continue that discussion.
discussion?
I probably would only vote for oppose unless amended on my end.
So I'll make a motion that we vote to oppose the SB 50 and send our messages to our officials.
Is that unless amended or just oppose?
Just oppose.
Can we discuss what your potential amendments would be before we?
Well, it wouldn't be my amendment, it's the bill.
Okay.
So if the bill were amended to clear
I-
us, give us a little-
I'll second.
You ready for roll call?
Oh, okay.
No further discussion,
No further.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara,
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Okay. Council reports. Nancy, you want to start on this? Let's go.
Okay. The RTA, I have an RTA meeting this week, and I had one last week, actually. We had our annual T-Mal luncheon, which was well attended. And we did a centerpiece again with the school and the students at the school. We had Mr. Parachi, who is the teacher who's coordinating it for us, and he attended the luncheon with one student who got up to the microphone and spoke, and we've really had such great success with that, working with the schools. And I want to thank Councilmember Martinez for his work behind the scenes to make sure that we're well connected to the teachers and to the work at the school to get this done. They do a great job with it. We did not win the trophy. It's always part of the learning experience that we tell the kids. This was a co-ed project, engineering project, which they did a beautiful job on. But we tell them that there's a little bit of politics on how they award the trophy, and Beaumont's won it a lot of years, and so they kind of have to rotate it around, and so we didn't win it this year, but we're probably politically just getting around to the point where we're going to win. So if the students hang in there, they'll actually bring home the trophy, probably maybe next year. We took a bus to get there in support of public transportation. Banning provided the bus. It was just a great luncheon. We missed Elizabeth being there, but she was well represented by her staff. So all in all, it was good, and I got some time to speak to some RTA leadership about some of the issues that we have going on here in Beaumont, with a conflict of ridership potentially with Sunline, which the city is city staff is working diligently on to make sure that the city community ridership is protected so that we don't lose any of the services to the community. So that's really been probably the most significant thing that I've been involved with from last week to this week. So I expect by the end of this week there'll be more updates. So thank you very much.
Mayor, I have, that's a report.
Sure. I've had the opportunity to attend a couple of the Riverside County Farm Bureau monthly meetings. And I never knew that they were right in our backyard. They're held at Russo's on the second Wednesday of every month, and they really appreciate to see someone from the city come in. So I just want to bring that up. It's a good opportunity to learn a lot about what's going on in the farming industry. So on a little less lighter note, in the RCTC meeting last week, we considered the draft plan for the half-cent sales tax increase, Measure A, Part 2, and the plan was approved by a vote of 29-4 to move forward. And what that means is that plan will now be presented on social media, there'll be workshops, there'll be meetings, committees. The whole idea is to get input into the plan and then bring it back for a vote with RCTC on June 10th. And if RCTC approves that final plan, then it will be on the November 2020 ballot for a half-cent increase. It will require 66% of the vote to get it approved, and then we would have another half-cent sales tax on top of what we're paying now. But I believe it takes over when the other Measure A finishes. So it's just an extension of the current Measure A program. But they will be changing the way projects get prioritized. They'll be changing the automatic. Right now, a certain percentage of the money comes back to the local zone for local roads and streets, and that part will not necessarily be the way to go. So in other words, if a number of cities or a large city or two has a project ready to go, that money may be prioritized over bringing money back to local streets and roads. So I would recommend you pay attention to it, and if you can provide input, look into it. I think that's my report on the RCTC.
Very good.
There were 4 votes. There would have been 5. Mr. Supervisor Hewitt expressed a vote against it, but he left before the vote happened. So Supervisor Jeffries voted against it. I voted against it. Art Welch voted against it from Banning, and Clint Lorimore from Eastvale voted against it as well. Everyone else voted in favor. A number of people's position was, I believed it was a tax, and their concept, there was a common theme, two common themes. One was we need to get it on the ballot for voters to decide. They want to tax themselves. And the other approach was, this is just a draft. Just because I'm approving a draft doesn't mean I'm going to approve the final. So I'm not necessarily voting on a tax today. So it went about 50-50 with the people who were voicing that they were going that direction. So
If it did go to the voters and it didn't make it, is RCTC still looking at reallocating the way that you mentioned?
No, the current Measure A will not change. So this is not a change to the structure of the payments. So it will continue with the direction it's going until Measure A expires.
So they can't do the big city grab all if the measure.
Correct. And one of my big concerns was, and I think I expressed this last time we talked about it, was for a city like Beaumont or even a smaller city, to have a project ready, it requires an investment because you have to do the design work, you have to do a lot of that work. And for a smaller city to put out a couple $100,000 for a project that may be prioritized by another project, I think it makes it harder for us. The response was, well, they'd like to see the smaller cities get together and work on projects together. But again, I think you have the same disadvantage and the advantage. What's that?
Isn't that what they're for, the RCTC?
Exactly. So anyways, so I would keep an eye on it, and I'll keep reporting back. I don't think the actual RCTC board's going to do anything on it until June 10th. But there will be there's a lot of social media surveys, and it's a chance for you to go and express whether you're in favor of it or maybe you think there might be a way to make it better. So they may change the plan, but we've already voiced our concerns about what I brought up, and that did not get addressed in the draft plan.
Go ahead.
And I have no.
Oh, oh, first of all, it's, past area Veterans Expo this coming, Saturday. Everybody's invited. I mean, if you could come
over, that would be great. There's a lot of, companies, will be, on the site, will be on the, stadium, our stadium, on here. So refreshments is available. For more information, you could, call, 951-769-9858. Okay, quite busy on my side on this. The whole week, last 2 weeks, I will summarize, so I will not go day by day or, it's Wednesday to Friday. We did the, CFD, on the realtors, board of realtors. I'm glad that, we put this together with the city manager and also Richard Beneke with the Finance and Audit Committee. That was fruitful, and there's four realtors that we gave them information and get educated about CFD, how CFD runs and how it applies and everything, and that enlightened them on that side. So me and the city manager are planning to do an extension on that, to do a series. So we could do a follow-up. That happened for 2 hours, and I'm glad that our city manager was there and gave all the educational period on their behalf. And then the following Friday on that, I did attended the Inland Valley Association of Realtors in Redlands Country Club, and met with all the leaders in there on the realtor side. The reason is trying to reach out to them so they will understand Beaumont, and they're really dying to know what's going on Beaumont, and they like to know how we did the progress on within 3 years. And I told them that we still, I'll do some corrections on some of the information that we're getting. We're still on the stage of, being on the recovery period. So we still, we attended also I'll jump in on the appreciation employees luncheon. That was great. That was great. There was a lot of, employees, join us without probably no hesitation to be part of, our workforce. And, they're so proud to be in Beaumont, employment. And seeing them over there and with the leadership of, again, with the city council and also with the city manager, Todd Parton, and also Kerry Mendoza. And, it's really, really appreciating to see that. And then on the, I attended the league, journal meeting on the last minute because I found out that there's nobody else coming in there. I did attended that, and then they were so happy there's a representation on the city of Beaumont on that side. And then also on a small scale is not small, but it's big in their side is the Lions Club. The biggest thing in here on my side is 6:30 in the morning. They have to meet in Calamesa, and I have to be there and do the speech and everything. And they were so glad that we were there on Calamesa. Again, on the CFD, another CFD that they want. They did presentation of the WR COG Rick Bishop on the, they call it on the UCR. I was there on UCR Thursday, Inland Center for Sustainable Development, and lead by Rick Bishop, and he will be coming here to do some presentation also on that side. And there's a lot of good students taking the public policy, and they want to know also what's going on a good thing going on in city of Beaumont. So you will see the UCR students will be hanging around with us to see how we conduct and also how we, interact with public. Lastly is the Friday, attended the Inland Empire, again, the Board of Realtors in Riverside, done in Marriott. They approached us and they said that they want to do also a CFD presentation. So we will, the finance and audit committee would like to team up with you guys, and I'm looking on Steven here, but I'm looking for him. So I'll discuss it with you on how they want it to happen on this. So other than that, I'll be going to Sacramento tomorrow morning. A 6 o'clock flight, so I'll give you an update on that. Thank you. Oh. Economic development update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the Economic Development Committee met earlier this month, and there was some lengthy discussion on a couple different items. One thing that we like to do as staff is bring the committee up to speed with the projects that are going on in the city. So that's really helpful for the committee to be able to then disseminate that information out to their colleagues and friends and family as well. So I always really enjoy Christine's presentations because that allows me to take her information and then pass that along on major infrastructure projects and so forth. The main topic at the committee meeting was the furtherance of the Business of the Month program. Initial meetings with the city staff, with the Chamber of Commerce, I believe that we have a participant that is thinking of producing the Business of the Month program. I'm going to schedule future meetings with them, hopefully in the near future, about the logistics and then trying to guide them in the correct direction on what I think may be the best area for them to focus on and kind of the best strategies I've seen in my research on how they can go about implementing such a program. So that was a good discussion. And then during the committee member updates, it seems that some of the committee members are starting to talk to each other in terms of their professions and linking up some of their resources with other ones. So that's exciting to see because it shows that the committee is engaged and that they're thinking of new ideas and not just looking to the city staff or to the 2 city council members that sit on the committee to come up with all the programs and the topics that need to be discussed. It seems like they're thinking about it in their spare time, and then they're conversing with their associates and colleagues and then bringing up new ideas. So I'm anxious to see kind of where those go in the future. And that's it, unless Mayor Santos or Mayor Pro Tem Lara would like to add anything.
You know what I'll do is I'll bring it up at the end for future topics in regards to the support for the chamber.
Yes, sir.
That I like to add, we discussed the next topic will be the beautification of the downtown. On that, so I'm excited about that. So that'll be great to do discussion and they get involved on that too. And also our young lady in there, the student. So
Yes.
she's so enthused. That's good for her.
I agree. I'm happy to have her on the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. City Treasurer report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to say is we have tentatively set a date for February 3rd to review the draft of the audit, based on the auditors being able to deliver, which is the date of the advise council, the Finance and Audit Committee. So we'll have it in the afternoon. Myself and the chairman of the committee will meet with Jeff and go over that audit, if it's there, the draft. It'll be presented that night on the 3rd to the rest of the committee. So it looks like we're on target. From our end, we're doing it. Jeff is on top of it, and I'm sure Todd is aware of where we are. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. City Clerk report?
I also attended the luncheon with RTA at at UCR was very well done. The Transportation Now chapter here in the past, along with the others, is really doing a great job in Western Riverside. They're to be commended for that. That's all.
Very good. Thank you. City manager report, please.
Wow, very exciting. Very exciting. Just a reminder, January 30th is the Beaumont Chamber Annual Officers Installation and Citizen of the Year event. So Beaumont will be a Mighty Oak sponsor this year. So y'all will be little acorns of the Beaumont Mighty Oak. So elevated.
There you go.
Elevated acorns. We had a meeting today with HDL to look at where we were with third quarter sales tax. So net or gross, I guess you could say we were down 11%. But if you adjust for issues that happened last year with the state implementing its software, you're actually up 6%. The reason why is the state got behind on payments last year, and so in the third quarter we had a huge injection of dollars. So if you adjust for prior year, you're actually up 6%. So that was good news. So steady, slow and steady eddies. And Christina Taylor brought home an SB2 grant, the amount of $160,000. And that will help cover some of the planning work, particularly on zoning and housing study work that we're planning to do that was programmed in our budget. So she did a fantastic job. And last thing is we're very fortunate to have a great attorney. I appreciate working with him. He has taught me a lot of things about law, about municipalities. And he asked me, well, he's taught me something too, the difference between good lawyers and bad lawyers. And so a bad lawyer will make a legal case extend for years, and a good lawyer will make it extend even longer. So it's good to know that information. So that concludes my report, Mayor.
Future agenda items.
I don't know if this would be part of the budget discussion or if it should be a separate discussion, but I'd like to get some input from the rest of you. The Symetra tour we're on our 5th year this year, and the Symetra, I don't know if it's the LPGA or the Symetra tour itself, is considering whether or not to bring it back. And there's concern that they will not. And so I thought that if they do, or if we could have an impact on them doing that, I think it's an event that it's a special event that we don't have anything else like it in Beaumont, but I think it has potential and opportunity to become something much bigger and better. And who knows, one day, we've proven that we can hold a Symetra Tour event that we might be able to move to a full LPGA event, which I think would be great for our community. So the reason I bring that up is I think the event is in April. Is it March?
End of March.
End
Last
of
week
March. So this is probably too late to really have an impact this year, but be prepared if we can send a message. And I would like to consider bringing the city in as a sponsor in some sort. I'm not saying pay for the whole event, but just to show. I think last year we were willing or offered to provide shuttles for parking and things like that. Just couldn't put it together fast enough. But I think if the rest of you just want to discuss it, we could put it on a future agenda item, or we could use it as part of the budget. Now, I'm not even sure whether a city can sponsor an event like this because it is a for-profit event. But I do know that the city of Indian Wells has a big tennis tournament. I don't know the details, but I think if you guys are interested in at least discussing it, we could have staff look into bringing it back as an agenda item and something we could consider. So I just bring that up as more of a discussion tonight.
There's something to add on? Well, with events like that, if we do provide public funds, there's got to be a finding of a public purpose for that. So we can definitely bring it back if y'all are interested and let you have a discussion and kind of work. But at the end of the day, that is a finding that you'll need to make with regard to providing a cash sponsorship or any other kind of cash
So
or
does
city resources.
public purpose include economic development, hotels, restaurants, that kind of commerce?
I think you could try to make an argument, or you could discuss whether there's a significant economic benefit to come back to the city through sponsorship.
Okay.
Okay, so probably we could put it on the agenda or do a discussion on this, or what do you want? Okay.
I think we ought to, I'd like to talk about it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have raised it. So you got one here.
I'd be okay discussing it as a future agenda item. Or would it make more sense to discuss it during like our next budget workshop?
Sounds like we have other things we have to work out about it before we go to budget on.
Okay.
Well, we can, we were planning to try to have a discussion for direction on next year's budget coming up in, I think, the February 4th agenda. So it could be, we'll already have an item there, and we could certainly discuss part of that. And then we can do some work with Mr. Pinckney and kind of identify what viable definitions of public purpose may be able to be for that.
Fine.
We're settled with that on a different item? Different item?
But I think I'm still going on.
Is it still going on? I'm not
So,
sure.
no, I mean,
Oh,
I'm willing,
okay.
I'm willing to go to discussion, I just have the reality there. So, I think we'll have some of that clarified. So,
No?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I wanted to make sure we were done with it. I've talked to the city manager about this, and I've actually talked to the women's club about this also. The women's club wants to do a garden project with the city of Beaumont, so I don't know if that needs to be on the agenda. Asking the city manager, can you see any action on that needs to be on the agenda, or is that an off-agenda item that we can work through? What do you think? I'm willing to put on the agenda because the next thing I'm going to ask you is that we've been talking about potentially bringing to the agenda a commission
Yes.
for parks and for music programs and potentially art programs for the city of Beaumont to start to actually move towards a potential mission where we can make that a discrete item that we can incorporate ideas or thoughts or direction maybe that we want the city to go in. And we've been talking offline about it during our meetings. So I think I'm asking you, do we need to put that on the agenda when it's fully developed, what some of the components of that should be, and then you can bring it all before council and see if they want to add more to it, or
Yes.
or
Yes.
settle the whole thing?
Yes, no, I think it's time that the city does consider the creation of a Parks Commission that will be an advisory commission that will look at parks, recreation, cultural needs, as well. And there's some real dollars, some service needs that are out there that we really need to begin to program. And as we're beginning to think more strategically for the city, I mean, we've talked together about things like Nicholas Park improvements and restroom facilities that we need. We've had requests to discuss shade structures over parks, which are $100,000 each. And so I think it's kind of time to begin to develop that. And I will say that, going back to the
work that we were doing with the little ad hoc committee we created for our CIP, one of the things that was discussed was cultural needs and looking at those issues. And so as you contemplate where we're going and where we're going over the next 5 to 10 years, it's probably a critical committee that could be very beneficial. It's also an organization or an agency or entity or a body, I should say, that can help us also contemplate the various potentially competing needs we have for our various youth programming and youth facilities things that are out there. So I think it is a very good time to begin to talk about that. On the women's club, I think, they can make a donation to us without having to come to council, but I think it would be wonderful to do a recognition for them and to officially, thank them for the consideration that they're providing for us to take that over and beautify this building.
So a future agenda item for the Parks Commission, but we don't need one for the Women's Club, is that correct?
With the Economic Development Committee, we had talked about that Business of the Month Club, and the Chamber is working to head that project up. There was some discussion in regards to potential financial support from the city to the Chamber to help with this program. If we can bring that up or discuss that potentially during our budget meeting, if that's good with everybody.
I'm good either way, future agenda or budget.
Thank you.
Okay, the only thing I have in here, if there's nothing in here, we'll adjourn the meeting at 5:35. 7:35.
That's a white.
Getting too early, man. I mean, he's leaving right away. So, I'll get the idea.
We started.